Hey Mompreneur, are you feeling overwhelmed by content creation? I totally get it. You have a million other things to do, and somehow your kids always know the best time to interrupt you is right when you start doing work. And by best time, I mean worst time. That's why I made the 1 month of Conversation Starters content calendar. It tells you exactly what to post so you can ditch the scramble and get back to what matters most. Your little womb gremlins and your business. More time for you, more engagement for your business. Get your free 1 month of Conversation Starters content calendar today at sociallyyours.biz/content calendar. Welcome back to another episode of Mompreneur Mastery, simple Instagram strategy for busy moms. I am super stoked about today's episode because it is all about having a really specific system to get more sales, which I'm pretty sure is something we all want. That's kind of why we're here. I got to talk to Nicki Krawczyk, who has been a copywriter for over 20 years, and she came up with this ingenious way of selling. It's like a system for selling that 4x'd her income for her signature course over just 2 years with no live launches, no hoping and praying for sales. She gave so many great tips and such great advice. I cannot wait for you to hear this episode so that you can implement it in your own business. Welcome to the Mompreneur Mastery Podcast, where we share actionable Instagram strategies that fit into a busy mom schedule so that you can get more engagement, more leads, and more sales in less time. I'm Sydney O'Brien, an Instagram strategist who started my business with 3 kids under 5 and found a way to do it without sacrificing quality time with my family and only working 2 hours a day. I love helping other mom business owners find that seemingly impossible mom work-life balance instead of spending too much time creating content that isn't getting them the results they want. If you're an overwhelmed but very ambitious business owner and you want to strategize the heck out of your Instagram account so that you can save time and make more sales, you're in the right place. Today I get to talk to Nicki. Nicki, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been an online business owner since 2012 now, which is amazing to me. But my background is in copywriting. I was a copywriter I've been a copywriter now for more than 20 years. And we have a multi-brand company, but our first brand was a course teaching people to become copywriters. And then we have a course about freelancers. And I think probably a lot of what we'll talk about today is the system that I created to sell the course about copywriting and the course about freelancing, and about how it kind of steps away from the unpredictability and the chaos and stress of live launching and moves us all toward making regular, predictable sales on a daily basis that we can kind of dial up as we want more income. So that's kind of my story in a little bitty nutshell.
I love that. I'm so excited. I feel like that is going to be so helpful for so many of my listeners. Like, obviously, we all, as business owners, we all like want more sales and like a system to make it happen. But also, like, they're all mompreneurs. So, like, the less chaotic life can be, the better. So I'm very excited to be able to share this with them.
Absolutely. Whenever, and I'm not a mom myself, but I'm a very proud auntie. The phrase, "It takes a village," I am the village. But a lot of maybe all of my friends are parents, and a lot of our students are parents as well. And I always think whenever I'm talking to mompreneurs, especially, I always think of a student who was talking to me and she said, I knew that I had to get into this program. I knew that I needed more predictable sales. I knew that I needed to automate this. She said, not just because it's better for my students and not just because, it's more effective. She said, but the last live launch I did, I was sitting in my kitchen and my entire family was in the room behind me, sick. She said the day before I had my 6-month live launch, so all of my revenue for those 6 months was riding on that. Her entire family got this horrific flu. So not only was she feeling terrible and her family was feeling terrible, like her kids were maybe too graphic. So, if you're listening early in the morning, but her kids are like throwing up in the back room. And not only does she feel terrible, she can't be with her kids because her revenue was riding on being there for that live launch. And that's just, it doesn't make any sense to run our businesses that way.
It doesn't. Yeah. Because especially when we are running our businesses to support our families financially, but as moms, we're typically primary caregivers. We also want to be able to support them emotionally, physically, be there.
Yeah.
So having automated systems to be able to get the financial aspect so we can do the physical and emotional, mental aspect is just so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, on top of the fact too, that and don't get me wrong, live launching can work. And, if someone's listening or watching and they're thinking, oh my gosh, I love live launching and it works great, then great, super. Don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it. If you love it, if it's working, great. But a lot of people come to me because it worked and now it's not working, or it works sometimes and then sometimes it doesn't work. And then what do you do? And it's stressful and it's chaotic. And what I always say is, here's the thing. We are the only industry that sells like this with this repeated live launch model, right? I mean, it's not like Apple releases a new iWatch and is like, hey, great, you've got a week to get it. And then if you try to come into the stores after that week, best of luck, see you in 6 months or a year, something like that, right? It doesn't make any sense that we are the only industry that thinks we have to sell this way. That has to be a huge red flag.
Yeah, that just is a huge red flag for burnout. Yeah, I can't imagine. I do some small scale launches for new things for special deals, but I keep doors open later because I don't want to keep relying on that. There's a lot to launching and it's not my favorite.
Yes, I completely. Well, and on top of the fact too that yes, it's stressful and it's risky basically to, if you launch once every 6 months and you say, all right, I'm cross my fingers that this week is going to be a week in which nothing else happens in the world, that you're gambling your income on that week. On top of the fact that, Sydney, I know you and I have talked to a lot of business owners who have had this experience where they have a really great launch, right? Totally dialed in. Everything is great there. And they think, oh, I finally figured it out. And then they take the exact same thing and do it 3 months or 6 months later, exact same audience, exact same messaging, all of it's exactly the same. And it tanks. It's unpredictable. And you can't run a business like that. How can you possibly plan ahead or scale or think, all right, how am I going to bring on team members, all of that kind of stuff, if you can't know how much you're going to be making? It's just a really wild way to try to run a business. And I don't blame anybody because that's kind of what we've all been told that you have to do. But what works for the big gurus often works for them because they are the big gurus, it doesn't work at least as well for the rest of us.
Yeah, for sure. They also have a lot bigger teams and big affiliate programs and all these kinds of other resources that we just don't have.
Yeah, exactly. I think live launching is definitely a little bit easier if you have a 25-person team. Just putting that out there.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you might want to explore a different way to do things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us a little bit about your system?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of mentioned that it's the system I developed initially to sell the copywriting course. And just to give a little bit of history there, the copywriting course was and has always been a really, really great quality course. Right now we've had more than 11,000 students go through the program, getting close to 12,000. Yeah, exactly. It's really fantastic. And we have a lot of really like great student success stories. But from like 2012, when I started it, to 2018, I couldn't get any traction. I tried all the things, I tried live launching. I tried making it a membership. I tried, all that stuff. And finally, at the end of 2018, I went, all right, this isn't working. This isn't working. And I took a step back and went, okay, instead of trying to do all the stuff that everybody tells me I have to do, what do I know and what do I want? And what I know, because of my copywriting background, is messaging. I know how to be wildly effective with my messaging. I also know customer psychology. So instead of trying to lean on what everybody else tells me to do, I dialed into what I actually knew. I also knew, too, I didn't want to rely on live launches. So I knew I needed a system that would be automated, where once people got into it, it would do the selling for me. And so what I created is the system that we now call it the circuit sales system. At the time, it was just, I don't know how I make sales. But in 2018, for just the copywriting course, that was our only course at that point. For 2018, I made $40,000 on that course, which was the most I had made. And then at the end of 2018 was really kind of when I implemented the system. So in 2019, I made $268,000. And then in 2020, I made $1.6 million. So by implementing this course, I 40x'd my income in just a little over 2 years. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But I think I'm always so proud to talk about those numbers. And I think people are like, wow, that's amazing. But the thing that I want people to know is that there's nothing magic about it, right? It wasn't like, it's not based on hope. It's not based on luck. It's not based on like manifesting or anything woo like that. It was based on, number one, speaking to people, messaging to people in a way that is very, very different from everything else that we've been told how to do that. It also is based on a system that supports people in making the decision to purchase instead of like penalizing them. There's so many things that we are taught to do in like the digital marketing arena, the course, program arena. There's so many things that we're taught to do that actually like penalize our audience members for having live,
Yeah.
like the live webinar, right? Okay, you have to come to my live webinar. This is where, come at 6:00 and there are going to be no replays, so you have to get there. And from the outside, it's like, okay, yeah, no, that totally makes sense, because then they're going to be committed, and if they care, they'll really show up, and they're going to pay attention because there's no replays. But look at it from the other side. Look at it from your target audience. And I think most people understand, but maybe moms especially, because Sydney, I bet you've done the same thing that I do, is that in the morning you're like, interested. Oh, yeah, sure, I'll sign up for them. I want to hear what they have to say. And then as the day goes on, it just gets more and more and more chaotic. And originally when I was like, oh, I could totally make 6:00 work. Yeah, but, probably turn it on while I'm making dinner. All of it, like your day devolves into chaos, right? And then all of a sudden,
Absolutely.
Instead of just making dinner for your kids, they each have like 3 friends coming over. And then maybe your sister brings her kids over. And and all of a sudden you don't have time to be there at that. That's you want to, you're interested in it. You want that information, but you can't be there. And for your experience as an audience member, who is a perfect audience member for that salesperson, they've basically just cut you off and said, no, sorry, you can't be there. It's a really crummy way to try to establish a connection. We're penalizing people for having lives instead of supporting them and saying, all right, I have this really great resource for you. And yes, there is a deadline to take action on it, because we as human beings need deadlines in order to take action. It's just how we operate. So there's a deadline to it, but I'm going to give you the time you need to consume. Split it over a couple of days. Watch it when you can. Here are a couple of different ways to consume it. Supporting people in getting our best information, our best messaging, and supporting people in making that purchase. And that's obviously just one small example, but there's so many things in digital marketing that kind of seem to make sense. And a lot of it we kind of take as the rules because it's been said so many times, because unfortunately it's kind of an echo chamber. But when you step back, there's so much of it you go, well, wait a minute. That doesn't actually make any sense. Now that I actually think about it, that doesn't make any sense. And that's it's really a big part of what we've changed in the system is it's automated, yes, but it's still exciting. And it's good for both the business owner, the seller, and the target audience member, the purchaser.
Yeah, and I can assume that like helps build a lot of like trust and comfort as well. That feels like it would be such a big turnoff for me. I would immediately be like, this person is doing this. They probably don't get my situation. I don't know if I want to invest in like working with them, especially for like a long-term thing. Like, are they really going to be able to help me?
Exactly. I mean, I don't blame anybody who has done this or is doing this because it's what we're told to do, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, that's what they say to do. So we do it, but then it doesn't work. And like you said, it starts the relationship off in a really cruddy place on top of the fact that as business owners, and again, this is just one small example, but as business owners, we paid to get everyone on our list, whether we literally paid with money through ads or something like that, or whether we paid with time and energy, organic on social, getting up people's podcasts, that kind of thing. We paid to get everyone on those lists. So if we get people on our list, they're interested in consuming our content, and then we shut them off, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. Because now we have this perfect person, but because of this arbitrary rule that was created by some digital marketer at some point, we're losing the opportunity to not just make the sale, certainly, but help that person. All of us have created a program to help people in ways big and ways small. And we've cut off the opportunity to make the sale, and we're not even able to help this person who wants our help.
I see that a lot. People doing the same things like that. And some stuff does just kind of give off like that bro marketing, icky, cringe vibe.
Yeah.
But people just like don't really know any better, I feel. So yeah, I'm glad you're out here teaching a better way for sure.
Well, and there are so many other like mistaken ideas too. And mistaken ideas that partially we buy into because it feels nicer and it feels safer. Like this idea of you have to nurture before you can sell to people, right? Like I think especially as women, not to stereotype, but think especially as when we're like, I'm going to nurture people. I mean, the word itself, we are comfortable. Nurture, I'm going to nurture people. And then when they feel nurtured, I'm going to sell to them. But that's not what our target audience didn't come to us to be nurtured. They came to us to get a solution. And there's this metaphor has been out there and thrown around a ton, so much so that nobody thinks about it. But people say, oh, if you try to sell to people before you do good nurturing, it's like it's like going into a bar, seeing somebody you think is cute, and then sitting down next to them and saying, hey, will you marry me? And at first you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I don't want to do that. I have to nurture people. But when you really think about it, it's not a true metaphor at all. Because first of all, they're coming to us. So if anything, it's almost like we're sitting at a bar or at a restaurant and they come up to us and start the conversation, right? And second of all, too, purchasing one of our products is not tantamount to marriage. It's not the same thing. Thank goodness it isn't, because I'm not comfortable making that level of commitment to 12,000 students. But it's not the same thing. The truth is that you can nurture people, make that connection with them, help them to understand why this is so good for them, but also sell to them at the same time. Because don't forget, people got on your list or people started following you on social media because they want the solution that you say that you have. So when people get on our list and they go, oh my gosh, this could be it. This could be the solution I've always wanted. And you're like, yeah, well, here's an ebook. And they're like, great, thanks for the ebook. When can I actually get that solution? And either you go, after my 12 email nurture series, or after, great, I'm so glad you're interested. Come back in 6 months when I'm actually going to sell it to you. That's where that big disconnect happened, when people like, they stopped opening my emails, or they opted in for my wait list 6 months ago and now they haven't engaged, because all of that excitement and all that motivation, which was peak when they first started following it, all that does is it just wanes. It's motivation and excitement is a chemical state. It doesn't stay there. So it's at its peak when they first start following us, and it dwindles after that. And unfortunately, things like making people wait for a launch or nurturing people just make that excitement dwindle. And then people wonder why they're not purchasing. Well, because you got them when they were up here, and then you started selling to them when they're in this place of like, guess I'm kind of interested in that. And people aren't going to convert when they're not excited about the possibility for the transformation. It's sure you can re-excite them, but boy, that takes a lot of effort. So much easier to just offer them your very best solution when they are most motivated to get that solution.
That's really interesting. I always talk about on social media specifically, because that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have like that connection piece to sell. So you're saying you can do that at the same time, connect and sell?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think people think nurturing is getting someone on your list and then, and don't get me wrong, you need a ton of content and social. So yes, there's going to be all kinds of, as I know that you teach, all kinds of different stuff to get people in your circle and get them excited or keep them excited. But, I think people think that nurturing has to involve like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is my history, and this is what I do, and this is why. And then in the next email, I'm going to tell you about why I care about this and all of that kind of thing. And the thing that we forget is that fundamentally, people are focused on themselves. So when we start talking about who we are, or when we start with talking about who we are and why we're passionate about what we do, and there is a place for that, don't get me wrong. But when we start out with that and we make that the focus, all that we do is we make people go, I don't care about, like we care about us, our moms care about us, but our target audiences don't care. They want to know what the solution is to their problem. Now, within that, there are a lot of emotional connections that you can make as you're selling to them that don't involve, posting photos of a breakdown that you were having or, whatever, all of those. And we've seen all of those online, which I think is just so weird. Anyway, but there are specific things that you can do that will cue people into the fact that you and your solution are both different than the competition and also trustworthy, and you are an expert. And unfortunately, again, a lot of the things that we've been taught are the exact opposite of how you do that effectively.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It makes like a ton of sense though, for sure. Like coming in, if they get a lead magnet or whatever you're offering to get on your list, they are in that like, I know I need this stage. So you might as well offer your thing right then and there.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that before, but it makes a lot of sense.
And obviously the way to do it is not say, okay, great, you're on my email list. Here's the sales page for my $1,000 program. That's not the way to do it, because you do still need to make that connection with them. But there are shorter ways to do that so that by the time you give them the sales page, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this program. I want this program. This is me. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. A thing I have talked about, one of my offers is a content calendar for launching people that do launch. And one of the stages is like building up that hype and anticipation before actually selling.
Yeah. But what if you didn't have to build that up? What if you caught people when they were most excited? You capitalized on their excitement to begin with, and you use that hype at the same time that you were selling them. What if you could make that all happen at the same time? Then I say, what if? But the truth is that you can. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you mentioned earlier messaging as well and standing out. And that's something that I, again, talk about on social media. But I'm obviously not the copywriter here. But I know on social media where everyone does just kind of like sound the same and they're talking about the same things. Do you have any tips for people to hone in on their messaging?
Yeah, absolutely. And nobody's going to like it.
Okay. I'm ready.
But this is actually what we build into. It's built into part of the first part of the Circuit Sales System course. You have to talk to your target audience. And everyone does either one of two things. Like, oh my gosh, I totally do. No. I send out a survey. It's fine. Like, oh, okay, no, you have to talk to them, because a survey is not the same thing. Because what you really want to get is that deeper emotional response to your question. And you can't get that in a survey. On top of the fact that for a survey, you're only going to get the kinds of people who fill out surveys, right? So you can't, a survey is not enough. And then the second group of people go, oh, no, I don't need to do that because I am my own target audience. And I understand that, because a lot of us have created products that solve the problem that we had before. But the truth is that you are not your target audience anymore. You were your target audience 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whenever you had the problem, but you're not that same person anymore. And number one, you have evolved. The way you think has evolved. The way you speak has evolved. So you're disconnected there. But also in that time, after you solved your problem, the world has evolved. Other people have, the way people talk about things, the way people think about things, what people are afraid of, what people want. And while the way that you are thinking about something or messaging something may be similar, it's not going to be the same anymore. So as much as people hate it when I say this, you have to get on a call or get on Zoom with your target audience, and you have to dig into, very gently, certainly you're going to establish a rapport, but you have to dig into their deeper emotional desires and fears and all of that kind of thing. And part of the reason that I say that you have to dig into it deeper is because when you first get in touch with people, they're going to give you the surface level answer, right? Because they don't know you yet. They're not comfortable. Even if they follow you on the internet, they're not comfortable yet. The example I give is I used to work with a weight loss client, and she was a weight loss coach, and she would say, oh, I would get on calls with people, and all they ever said to me was, when I said, why are you interested in losing weight? She said, what anybody would say, right? What any of us would say, and whatever, like, well, I just think now it's time to just get a little healthier. Like, oh, I just think, like to be a little healthier, or maybe a little bit stronger, that kind of thing. But nobody puts down their credit cards because they just to get a little healthier or wanted to get a little bit stronger. So we talked about how to dig in and really get at those deeper emotional levels so that it's okay, well, I want to get a little bit healthier. Okay, interesting. And is there any particular reason why you want to do that now? Well, Okay, interesting. And can you give me some more details? Yeah, well, okay, and why did that matter? Can you give me more details about why that matters to you? What? Okay, and why does that matter? Mm-hmm. And why does that matter? And dig into it. And people are like, I couldn't ever do that. It's a conversation. You're not going to be like, yes, why does that matter? Just have the conversation, dig into it, because you're going to get from, I just kind of want to get healthier, maybe get a little bit stronger. Asking that, you're going to get to the real answer, which is probably something like, I have my high school reunion coming up in 3 months. And if my ex-husband's new wife looks better than I do, I'm going to stab myself in the eye. That is what people put down credit cards for, right?
Yes.
Yes. So it's getting to that deeper emotional reason. And no, you're not going to use the deep emotions in every single piece of your copy. But you're going to need to know what it is, because you're going to need to mention it when it's appropriate, because that shows people that you understand them, you understand what's really going on with them. And when you can say to people, look, I do understand what's really going on. You're probably afraid of this, and you probably want this. Then they go, oh my gosh, she understands me. Okay, yes, I am interested in this. And that's what makes them compelled to purchase. The surface level is always a great way to open the conversation, right? Like, you probably want this, and you're probably afraid of this. But what really gets them to take action is that deeper transformation. And the only way to really understand that, again, kids, I know you don't like this, you have to get on the phone with your target audience. Ideally, talk to people who have not purchased. Also, talk to people who have purchased. And if at all possible, talk to people who have not yet had the opportunity to purchase. So people who are on your list, but they haven't gotten a sales message from you yet, because all of them are going to have slightly different answers. And you also, too, of course, you want to ask people about why they purchased and their experience with your program, and you want to talk to people about why they didn't purchase. And yes, a lot of them are going to say money, but it's very rare that money is the real reason.
Yeah, the survey thing is one I hear a lot of, but the calls makes a lot more sense for the deeper thing. And especially for like your example of the weight loss, that's like a kind of vulnerable
Yeah,
topic. Like, yeah, no one's going to put that on like a survey from a stranger. You're only going to
never.
get that from like a more thorough conversation.
Exactly. And that's where the
Yeah.
gold is, right? That's where you really understand your target. I mean, that's not going to be the exact answer for everybody, but there are going to be elements of that. And especially as you talk to all of these groups of people, and I say I aim for 5 to 10 per group that you get on, and people are like, oh, it's so many calls. Yeah, but this is your messaging is crucial to your business. You can't have an effective business without effective messaging, and you can't have a successful business without effective messaging, and you can't have effective messaging without getting on these calls and understanding what your target audience is really thinking and saying and feeling. So
Yeah.
it's a non-negotiable, friends.
Yeah, it's like setting up the strong foundation so
Yeah.
that you can have the success later. Because I see it as like without it, you're kind of wasting a whole bunch of time and energy on not getting the results
Yes.
that you want.
You what you're doing is you're guessing at what you think people have to say. Or again, you're basing it on survey results and people say, well, people said this. No, people clicked a box in the survey, or like 2 people out of your list of 2,000 took the time to write this in the box. What is everybody else thinking? Right? What is the real thing that's going on with them? And I know too, sometimes people are shy about getting on calls. And number one, you're going to bribe them. If you want to get people to do a favor for you, you have to bribe them. And that is totally fine. Bribe them in whatever effective way that you can, whether it's maybe if you have a small program, or maybe if they're non-purchasers, or whatever, a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Doesn't have to be a huge one, but bribe them, give them some incentive to get on the phone with you. But also don't forget that if people are on your list and they're following you on social media, you're kind of famous to them. And I don't mean like in a big Sandra Bullock kind of way. I don't know why that's the first person who came to mind, but although Sandra Bullock's amazing, but you have a little bit of mystique to you. You have a little bit of internet fame. We'll give it that. And to be asked for them to be asked their opinion, and for you to take time to sit down with them, is often feels like an honor. And frankly, it is an honor. You are honoring them, and you're honoring their thoughts, and the fact that it matters to you what they think is a valuable feeling for them. So don't think that you're just taking, but taking the time to be present and hear what they have to say and what they think and what they're experiencing is really kind of a cool interaction for both of you, communication for both of you. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like if I'm on someone's list, I hate going through my email. So if I'm on a list, it's because like I really like that person and want to hear what they have to say. And I would be like so excited if someone was like, "Hey, can we hop on a call? Can I like talk to you about this?" Like,
Like
yeah,
me? Sure.
right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I need to do more calls.
Oh, we all do.
like
Don't get me
definitely
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I will look at my schedule and be like, oh, it's been a while. And actually, over the next couple of weeks for the copywriting course, my schedule, and I do it myself. We have 14 people on the team now, but we're a multi-7-figure company with multiple brands, so we have a lot of people on the team. But more than anybody else, I need to hear what people are saying, and also because they see me on social media, so it's valuable for them to talk with me and get my insight into what their journeys are as well, because that's part of what I offer for our new students. I get their feedback, and I have specific questions I ask them, but I also give them a little bit of coaching. Right now, nobody can get one-on-one coaching with me, so it's kind of a big deal to be able to get to, and believe me, I can pack a lot in 15 minutes of coaching, so it's a big deal, and you got to do it though. You got to make time on your schedule. And if you have to, schedule a 6-month reminder, every 6 months reminder. Oh, I'm going to do some more calls. We should be doing them at least once a year, And if you don't want to do the full, 30 people, 15 to 30 people, okay, fine. Do smaller group. But we have to be checking in with our audience regularly, because it's a really risky way to do business when you are when you're not having those conversations with your audience, when you're disconnected in that way.
Yeah, that makes way too much sense. Definitely writing that down so I can cross that off my list of things to do. Because so many things of like these foundational parts of business that like you don't really think about until you own a business. Like you hop into it knowing like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm passionate about this thing. I have these skills. I want to do it. And then you realize there are all these different facets of owning and running a business that you have to learn about.
Well, and I'll tell you, like, this is one of those things that really sets apart the people who kind of want to own a business from the people who are like, oh, I'm going to be successful at this. Not only do I want to, but I'm committed to being successful at this. I want to help people. I want the lifestyle my business is going to give me. I want the income it's going to give my family. I am committed to this. This is one of those things that is really a black and white line, or black and white line, very clear black and white. The people who are like, I know I should do it, but I know, but I'm not going to. You will the Venn diagram between the people who are like, I know I should, but I'm not going to, and the people who are never serious about their business and they kind of wonder why they've never been more successful. Venn diagram is a circle right there. But the same thing on the other side. The people who are going, I hear this. I don't want to do this. This is going to have so many other important things to do. Oh, this makes me uncomfortable to get on the phone with people and so much. But they do it anyway. Same thing. Venn diagram between the people who decide to do it and the people who are committed to having a successful business. And your audience may already know this, but the big secrets of being successful in business are persistence and consistency. That group, it's the Venn diagram between the successful people and the people who do the things like this that are like uncomfortable, kind of annoying, but they do it anyway. That is also Venn diagram's a circle.
I also feel like it's probably one of those things where like the more you do it, the better you get at it and the easier it is. Like, so if you are, because I would definitely be one of those people like, oh, I don't like getting on calls. This is kind of weird. It's new to me. But yeah, definitely seems worth it in the long run.
Exactly. It's also a lot less scary when you have a list of questions to ask. It's not like you are having a conversation with someone, right? You don't have to.
Right.
You have a list of questions to ask, and when they give you an answer that you're like, sure, I want to know more, you say, oh, interesting. Can you tell me more? They're doing most of the talking anyway. You're just kind of on smiling and listening and record these calls so you can. Because you're going to notice patterns as you go through. You'll be like, that's interesting. That's the third person who said XYZ, and I would have never thought that was something that people were thinking about. And not everyone is going to be gold, of course, but it's crucial. And nobody wants to hear it, but we've all got to do it.
Based on like what you see in your work, because you've worked with so many people, if you could choose one thing for business owners, specifically like overwhelmed, dealing with constant chaos mompreneurs that typically don't have teams to focus on to improve their own like copy for more sales specifically, what would that be?
I think what that would be what really changed the game for me in 2018. And what it was to stop just listening to what everybody said I had to do and taking a moment and really thinking, okay, what do I want out of my business? What do I want my business to look like? How do I want my business to run? And the stuff that they're telling me to do, does it make sense? I know that they're saying that it works. And I know that they're saying, because everybody's saying you have to do something. It's the same thing with me, right? People are like, well, but didn't you just tell me that? Yeah. So don't just take anything I say as gospel. Listen, does it make sense to you? And put yourself on both sides of it. Does it make sense as a business owner? And does it make sense as your target audience? And also, does it make sense for human beings and the way human beings operate? Like we were talking a little bit about, or maybe we had started talking about, but the idea of one of the ways that people evergreen is they take their program and they put it on their site and they just let people buy it whenever they want to. And I get it from the business owner side. It's like, well, it's great because then people can buy it and it's so easy and I don't need a launch. And from the audience side, it's great because they can just buy it whenever they want to. But don't forget the customer psychology side, which is that we don't take actions. Human beings don't take actions if we don't have a deadline. I think it's one thing to be like, as the business owner and as the target audience. But when you, like, for example, I have 3 tabs open on my 2 browser windows. There's like 60 across both of them. But I have at least 2 or 3 tabs open now of programs that don't have a deadline on them. And I'm interested, but there's nothing compelling me to make the decision. It's not even necessarily just the idea of purchasing. Compelling to make the decision. So think about, spend a little time with yourself with a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and really think through your business, evaluate all of it. Be careful of that sunk cost fallacy of like, well, I put in so much effort into this, so we have to make this work. Doesn't work that way. If you put so much effort into something and it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. You have to move on. But really think about what you want your business to be, and does it work? Are the things that you're doing, do they make sense for you as the business owner, for your target audience, but also the way that human beings actually work? And I have a feeling that if people are not yet seeing the success that they want to see, that there are probably some changes that need to be made in there. And it's not an easy process. It definitely takes some time. Don't try to pack it in 15 minutes. It's not something you can do on your phone at the grocery store. Give yourself some time to think it through, maybe multiple sessions to think it through. But it is so, so crucial. And when you really, really get focused on everything that you want and how you want to get it and how your business is going to look and how it's going to function, when you really get focused on that, that's when things can really start to take off.
That is really great advice. Thank you so much.
You.
I really enjoyed talking to you.
I did too. This was super fun, Sydney.
Can you just tell everyone where they can find you on socials or share your podcast?
Absolutely. I know. I always forget to mention our podcast. So our podcast is the Energize Your Online Business podcast. And you can follow us on social at Circuit Sales System on Instagram and Facebook. Certainly, I kind of think TikTok as well, although my wonderful team managed. I don't know. And then if you're interested in kind of seeing how the selling system works and learning a little bit more about the psychology in it and the stuff we kind of talked about at a higher level today, you can go to circuitselling.com and then sign up for the video there.
Perfect. And I'm going to put the links for all of those things in the show notes as well. Perfect. Thank you so much for being here today, Nicki.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Mompreneur Mastery, simple Instagram strategy for busy moms. If you were listening to this episode and found yourself nodding along, I would love it if you would find me on Instagram and send me a message telling me your biggest takeaway. My handle is @socially.yours.strategist. And don't forget to grab your free one. Does it take you 3 cups of coffee, 20 minutes scrolling Instagram for inspiration, and a couple Google searches just to know what to post? And then after all that, you still get crickets in the comment section and have trouble turning your Instagram followers into paying clients? You are not alone, and that is exactly why I created my Post with Purpose membership. Inside Post with Purpose, you get simple Instagram strategy to grow and connect with your audience so that you can convert them into clients. You get done-for-you post templates to save you time. You also get monthly Instagram trainings to know how to use the app itself, about things like reading insights and story and DM strategies with scripts. Plus, personalized support from me so that you can get your results quickly. Are you finally ready to see a return on all that time you've invested into your Instagram? Well, I have a super special deal just for my Mompreneur Mastery listeners. You can get a $7 trial of Post with Purpose in the show notes. Can't wait to see you inside the membership.